Hello everyone! This is Awkward Audrey and welcome to my art hour. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I am a few minutes late, but I think it was well worth it. I'm able to talk with you, obviously, and now we can just dive into the theme for today. Since it is Easter Sunday weekend, Hi Liz! Uh, I thought it'd be appropriate to have the Easter lily be a part of my watercolor adventure. So, uh, what I have done is I went through a couple of different ideas for what I wanted to do when painting a water lily or painting an Easter lily, and I finally landed. I just wanted a close up of it and to be able to get in some of those details that make a lily so beautiful. Hi, Jason. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. I'll be doing my normal watercolor brush uh, palette, and since where I'm at my regular house today, we should be able to uh, have a very good view of the painting. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'm switching camera. Okay, as you can see here, I have a very kind of loose sketch that I have drawn that is based off of a few photographs that I've seen of the Easter lily. And one of the things that makes the Easter lily interesting is it is two sets of three petals. So it's like, here's one set, the triangle, and here's the other set that is behind the first set. And it looks like that the inside set, which is closest to the center and where the stems are going to be coming out, that what are those called? They have pollen on the end. That they tend to be bigger and they have more texture on the edges. They are more wavy as they are bigger. And I think that's a very interesting aspect of that. Well, I've also noticed with Easter lilies, I didn't realize, but like I'm just going to sketch it here and then erase it, that the stalk is actually very, very plentiful with leaves, right? So like the general stalk, like here's your general like Easter lily, and then the stalk just has like a whole bunch of leaves just coming out, and then they all like seem to come up from the top as they come in bloom. So they'll have the buds here all in one space, and then they'll have a full stalk of leaves. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't really ever notice because by the time I ever see an Easter lily, it's usually been cut and trimmed and in a bouquet with a myriad of other flowers. And so I thought that we should kind of give the flower its due, right? So what we have here, one of the reasons I also chose a lily is if you could choose to do a white flower, you have the benefit of having it mostly be done already. I'm just so you know, I'm erasing my general sketch. I can still see faint outlines of what I was drawing, but when I paint this, I don't want to get any of this trapped, any of the pencil sketch marks that I have trapped underneath the paint. So I'm going to do some pre-erasing with my kneaded eraser, which is gentle on both the paper and on the graphite. One of the reasons I like to do the white water lilies that most of it's already done. You can't see it because I haven't painted the background, but hey, this water lily is pretty much done because it's white. I think I might add some splash of color. Oh, hey, Lily, thank you for joining us. I'm currently erasing my sketch marks so they don't get trapped underneath the paint of my lily. Of my own lily. Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining. So what I want to do for the background is I thought it would be awesome to just have a um, very watercolory background, whereas I make the paper wet and I put on a bunch of color and then it just kind of fades and makes these beautiful shadows and shapes on its own accord. And I would really like to see what happens. It's one of those things where you never really know what's going to happen. I can kind of direct the paint, but it's not going to. It gives us its own personality, right? And obviously, I'll add some details at the end because we do want the flower to be beautiful and sharp and crisp, and we maybe add a few leaves here at the bottom after the fact. The colors I will be using today will be the dark green and the light green for the background and the stem work. And then a little bit, let's see, we'll go with some yellow and we'll go with a little bit of orange for the, I cannot remember the word, the little stems that come out of the center that have the pollen on the tips. I will have that as well, and maybe add a little bit of color to the center line of the lily for to kind of give it some shape and make it a little bit of a vibrant lily. Not too much, because it's still a white Easter lily, but you know, these are the colors I'll be working with today. Okay, here we go. I have a big glass of water, not for drinking. I will not be drinking that. And last but not least, the clear water brush pen that I will be using. Okay. Can't see me off camera, but I'm getting set up. Okay. Okay. Let's see how my... Oh, you know what I forgot to get? I forgot to get a palette. I'll be right back. Palette being a ceramic plate. That's it. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. All right. I'm back. Okay, so one of the things I learned when I was doing more research this week on watercolors, I was going over like what are some of the common tips and tricks that watercolor experts have learned, but you know, once you learn it, it's never really talked about. And an interesting thing I learned was that a lot of watercolor artists don't clean their palettes when they are done. Now, obviously, this is just a bowl that I use for normal everyday use, so I don't want to leave it dirty, right? But one of the benefits of using watercolors over different types of paints is that it is instantly reactivated by water. So if you let your palette dry completely, and you know, let all the watercolors sit in there and they dry completely, once you add water to them, they are as good to go as they were when you first put it on. That is the unique ability of watercolor paint. I didn't have enough time to research why that is, but I thought that was interesting and that you guys would want to know that. So let's get started by getting the paper wet. This is not the most interesting part to watch, but I love the effect that it has after the fact. So I'm right now just going over the outlining the water lily itself. Hi, Kathy! Thank you for joining. So for outlining the lily itself, I want the lily to be dry for now, and then I'm going to add, I'm going to just work on the background and get a feel for the light and the shadows that are going to happen with the lily, with the background, and see how that may or may not affect the light that I will eventually add to the lily. And as with most painting projects, but particularly with watercolor, because things are time sensitive, right? I am putting water onto this watercolor paper and it is drying as I move on to the next section. So one of the things you have to do when you're working with watercolor is to time your sections appropriately. So I'm just going to do this corner here, go back over and make sure it's wet, but not too wet. We don't want any puddles. And then I'm going to go in with my watercolor brush. Hi, June. Thank you for joining. This is my live channel where I am going to be watercoloring a lily today in honor of Easter Sunday. Okay, so I think I have enough water put down for right now. And we're going to just go, sometimes I go and I put this right onto the palette, but I'm going to be bold and just go in with the pen as it is. Okay. And we're going to start with the edges and see what happens. Ooh, yes, I like it. You know what we're going to do instead? We're going to get in close. Because this is probably one of my favorite parts about watercoloring, is when you add color to the wet paper. It is so pretty. It has such a wonderful effect. And it just blends in. Hey, Mom! Thanks for joining! All right. You can see that it's kind of drying out over here. So maybe I'll add some water, but right now we're just going to enjoy the process. Putting color onto water. All right, I like that a lot. Then I have found that if I were to just let this sit for a while, that it would blend of its own accord. But I'm not that patient, so I'm going to blend with my clear brush. Go up right to the edge of the lily petals that I have sketched out. Sorry I missed the beginning. What are we doing? So no problem. Today we are doing the Easter lily in honor of Easter Sunday. And as I was telling them earlier, one of the benefits of choosing a white Easter lily is that it's mostly done. You just can't see it yet. So what I'm doing right now is I'm painting the background, which I want to be a vibrant green. And so I'm just going over with the clear brush on the wet on wet that I already did. Okay. Here we go. And now we're going to just meet where the petals, you can't quite see it, but where the petals are. Here we go. And we're going to continue. Now that is an interesting thing. I don't know if you can see it quite clearly here, but there is actually two different shades of green that are at work here. One is the dark green that you can see here, and then the other, beneath it there's this yellowish pigment, yellow or green pigment that is at work. That seems to be more permanent than the darker green that you see. So those marks are are permanent, and it's mostly whatever the yellowish part is, not the actual dark, dark green. So maybe that's something I need to remember in the future when I am creating these types of textures and colors. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to, since I don't want just lines going across, I do want some variety. We're going to do some kind of leaf type textures. Also kind of this will get me practiced at getting ready for the actual flower. And we blend. Blend, 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 blend. I'm not getting too much pigment close to the petal here, as you can see. Part of that is I'm cautious. I'm just being cautious about what I am doing and getting too close to the petals that are supposed to be white. Like once they're white, it's very difficult to get that color out. But also it does kind of create like this halo effect as well, as you can maybe when I'm done and I kind of feel like I know where my light is coming from, I can go in and darken parts of it so you can feel like there's a glow that is happening where the light is hitting the petal, on the side where the light is hitting the petal. Okay. Okay, now on to the next section. Here we go. And this is kind of where, right here is where the three middle petals are, since they're bigger, as they grow out, they get less stiff. And so the sides of them become more wavy, if that makes sense. So they're not as crisp and clean as the outer three petals that occur. And they have a more wavy effect. So making that apparent without making it look like it's just a badly drawn lily is going to be a challenge. Okay. So we're going to round out this corner here. So when I add color to it, it will be it'll be a smooth transition at this corner. Oh, I have to leave for a while. I hope to be back, or I'll catch the replay. Bye, Terry. I hope you have good Saturday and a good Easter weekend. Okay, so there we go. This area is wet, but not too wet. Now we're going to go in for my favorite part. And I think this time I will, so I have two greens here. This was what I just used, so I think this time I'm going to see how this one works, and maybe it, oh shoot, keep bumping my stand here, shaking the camera. See if I use this here, and if that has any different effect from, color effect from these, from what happened up here. It does have a more of a lighter green look. It is more yellow, which maybe is, at the end of the day, what I'm looking for. Swirls. Oh, you know what? I like doing that. We're going to do some swirls. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Now we're going to cover it all up. Some of it up. We still want some texture, right? You know what? I really quite like that. Like, it's not a full, like, defined swirl, but it's kind of got that feel to it. So I'm gonna let just that sit as it is and see what happens as it dries. And then I'm gonna move on to my next section, which I think, while we're letting this part dry, we'll continue on over here instead. And for some continuity, we won't be using this newer brush. We won't be using this newer brush. We'll continue on with the older brush, the one I already used up here. Oh, I came across interesting blogs on color theory. Ooh, yes, please. Yes, yes, please. Send me links. Okay, now for the next section. Put water on the outline of where this flower is going to, where these petals are going to be. Oh, you know what? These lines are not as erased as I would want them to be. So we're going to get in real close so that when I do the green, it will cover up those lines. I don't want these lines in my flower. But I've already put water on the paper, so I'm not going to wait any longer. Okay. So let's use this same color that was already, the same green I used that was already up here. What kind of this? This is this is Hooker's green. And then we're gonna just continue on with some of these swirls. Oh, so pretty, so pretty. Oh, do you guys see that? Ah, can't handle it. Okay. There we go. Oh, there was no water there. Add some water, make sure that blends. Okay. And there we go. It still has that kind of yellowish tint on it that I'm not really a fan of because it's not what I intended. Right? I love how the pre-watering defines lines. And you can kind of see it like taking shape even though I haven't drawn it yet. It's very fun. Okay, so now I'm going to do the outline here. See, I'm going to move the camera a little bit. Okay. You can see it kind of bleeding through to the rest of the water. All right. And then we're going to do some pretty leaf shapes. And blend, 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 blend. Okay. So I think I have decided I am done with this particular green. I am not a fan of the yellow stain it kind of leaves behind. Um, so we're going to move on with just the sap green instead. Oh, and something else I learned when I was going over tips and tricks for beginners. We're going is actually how to get your brush clean. And I'm going to finish this next section, and then I'm going to show. So I'm going to finish this next section so we can have a clean break in between the the hooker's green and the sap green. But I don't want to forget to show you guys the cool trick I had for how to get a clean brush when you're going for when you just want to switch colors really quickly. Because like you can see here, I still have a little bit of green on this, and some of it is showing on the paper. Okay. Okay. So while that is drying, I'm going to show you what the tip is. So like it should work for any brush. The brush I probably use this most with is the clear one because it's the one that touches the most color. These I'm not going to ever rinse because they have the exact color that I want. I'm not going to be mixing this color or this brush with any others so that I do not ruin the color that is already in this inkwell. So I'll be using, so I mainly will be rinsing this one. So we're going to move this camera over here above my water dish. And so what I learned, and I think what I've seen is actually very true, is that you take the tip of your brush that has whatever the color ink is, and so say you want to move from like a dark color like green to a light color like yellow, you have this on the tip, and instead of just like patting the bottom, which you shouldn't do when you're painting because that ruins the bristles. I'm terrible. I don't take care of my brushes very well, but instead you stick it in the water and then you do a figure eight. So it's not touching the bottom, but you do a figure eight, and that will, and do it really quickly, and that should get most of the pigment out of your brush. So fun fact for you, do a figure eight when you're rinsing your water, or you're rinsing your brush in clean water, and your brush will be pretty much clean. Okay, back to this. Okay, sap green is blending in splendidly. Let's see, let's put a little bit of water here, and we're going to move onward. As you can see, we're going to be meeting up here with this effect. This one over here, which is pretty much dried by now, so it didn't blend as much as I thought. I bet if I put just like an extra little layer on top of it, it would have blended better. It would still have kept its shape, but it would have blended better. Oh, new comment. Hooker's green, named after William Hooker, a renowned English botanist, author, and gifted botanical illustrator. Ooh, he compounded a special pigment for leaves. That is really awesome. Thank you for the history note, Mom. In case any of you are wondering, my mom is intelligent And she asks these questions, and I definitely got that curiosity from her. I mean, I guess from Dad too, because he's crazy, but he's also crazy curious. But Mom especially. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, I'm thinking I'm liking that effect. It kind of has the background. It kind of gives the background that leafy feel. Don't know if you guys noticed, but I kind of started doing like X's, which are kind of like leaves, right? Leaves are like that. But if you were to do just the outside of one leaf and the outside of the other, it would be kind of like an X. So kind of just continue that out, and it'll have a interesting background and kind of leafy effect. Okay. This ended up being quite the stark line. I'm not sure what I did to do that. I think I must have just committed too long as I was drawing it to get that second line in there. I'm not a fan of that, but it is part of the painting now. So I'll just have to figure out if I want to keep it or if I want to do something else with it later. So let's get a bird's eye view of what's happening here. So this is where I'm at right now. This part and this part are completely dry. This was with the Hooker's green, and at least in this particular instance with this water pen, I am not a fan. It looks like the yellowish part of the green has adhered to the paper more quickly, and then the bluish, whatever the bluish ink that was left over, went around. So it's not as uniform in color as I would like. And you can see that over here as well. With this, I decided to see what would happen, and I wet the paper and I did the swirls, but I didn't blend it in, and I wanted to see how far it would blend in. And it blended a little bit, but you know, maybe not as much as I was anticipating. So something something to remember for the future if I am looking for an effect like this. But I think for when I go back in, I'm going to try and clean this up a bit. And then there's this part here, which has the with the sap green in the bottom, and this looks like it blended very well over here. So it looks like it is the different colors are intentional. And they work very well. And this here, I think when I was doing like the excess and kind of a leafy pattern, it had the right kind of background blended feel. So I think going forward, I'm going to kind of continue with that down here, and but I'm for sure going to blend it more so it's not as obvious that there are lines. Oh my goodness, and I just drew some right onto the paper. Okay. Let's get this going. It's going. So it's still kind of wet over here. So I'm going to just continue that on so that when I do put more ink down, that it will blend into what I've already painted. Okay. Take it everywhere. You can't see me right now, but I'm getting kind of on the same level as this to see if there are any spots I missed. See how shiny it is and how wet the paper is. Okay. Here we go. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to just... See, this is all experimental, right? I think I'm going to just try and get a big fat drop in the middle and see what happens. Ah! So pretty! Oh, Kathy, I have to go, but I'll be back. So enjoy watching you. Awesome. You have a great afternoon. If you aren't able to make it back, that's okay. Oh, bright. So I like that. That's a good look. Maybe not for this project. I'm going to go over it, but that is an interesting look. Okay. Let's do this. X's. X's and O's. Okay. So I'm taking my clear brush, and I'm doing the same X's. Okay. Now let's finish this off. A firework in slow motion. Yes. Yes, I like that. Ooh, I wonder if you could make that happen with the watercolor. Because you know what? Something similar did happen in my first live art hour. I don't think I called it an art hour. I just said, hey, I'm doing art. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. Let's outline the flower. Again, one of those difficult things for you to see because it's just water, but what I just did is I outlined this, and then once that was wet, I pulled in the water to where I wanted the rest of it to go. Okay. Checking it out. Ooh, paper's warping a little bit. I want more. There we go. Because the water seems to be pooling right here at the bottom, it seems to not be taking the ink as cleanly as I thought it would, as I had intended. So we're just gonna gently kind of push the puddle in a little bit so that the ink has a more defined edge to it. Okay. And then we're going to just kind of pull it back in. Rein it in, guys. missed a spot. There you go. Okay. Do I need to blend this anymore? Maybe a little over here. Oh, yes. Here. There we go. Okay. So that is the background of the flower. And at some point, I may add more details to it, but I think I'm going to just let it dry and see how it goes. And decide where I want to put those details. So I'm pulling up my reference photo that I have on my desktop so I can see how the shape of this should be going. Now, one of the, let's see. One of the techniques I've seen other artists do with painting white anything, like it can be a white flower, like we're doing today, but it also could be a white furred pet, like a dog. It could be a white building. It could be a cloud. It could be, you get the idea. When it comes to white anything, you have to choose what the undertones are going to be. So, like for me, I want to decide. So if is this the kind of a gray? Do I want a grayish undertone, or do I want more of a yellow undertone? So that when I am able to, so that when this is all dry and I don't have to worry about it, what kind of shape do I want to portray in the whiteness? It's very, very difficult to paint something white and then if it goes wrong, to bring it back to that original whiteness again. Like there are methods, like you can use like a paper towel, or you can use you can paint over it with what I've heard is gouache, which I think is the white watercolor. I'm not sure. I don't have gouache, so I'm not using it right now. So I didn't do much research, but those are a couple of techniques you can use apparently when you need to whiten something back up again. But beyond that, if you're using just watercolor, you can't pick up that white again. So you have to be very careful when putting down your undertones. Okay. Okay, this is still pretty wet, so let's just switch the camera for a little bit. And I'm just gonna drink some tea for a little bit and see what happens. How's your week been, guys? Did you guys paint anything or do anything artsy? I say artsy because with creative endeavors, like you can be creative about anything. People say, "Oh, I'm not a creative person." I'm like, did you see that Excel spreadsheet you just designed? Like, that is so cool. And yes, Mom, I took my cup home. It's my biggest cup. I need it for my tea. My tea is important to me. As you can see, sleep is for the weak. I'm definitely weak. I want lots of sleep. Give me all the sleep. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just got distracted by the bangles on my shirt. Okay. Oh, it's still not dry. I'm trying to download ArcGIS again. 3 days, 4 emails, and 3 calls to the help desk. I'm installing now. Yes, that sounds about right. But, totally worth it. ArcGIS is a big program, but it is very cool for making maps. For those of you who are watching and don't know, ArcGIS is, and again, Mom, feel free to correct me on any of this. It is a program used to design maps. You need a desktop fan? Oh, a desktop fan. Wait, are you saying I need a desktop fan or you need a desktop fan uh to install it because it's so loud? It's using up so much of your hard drive. I don't think you can hear my computer. I hope my computer's not being loud. Mm. Mm. It's bigger now. They've gone ArcGIS Pro. Yes. So you're gonna make some very cool maps. Very cool maps. Oh my god, I'm excited. Oh, I need a desktop fan to dry my painting. That's true. Yeah, most people have a hair dryer. I don't have a hair dryer, um, so it's just, I'm fanning it with my hand. Dry, dry. I'm really not a fan of, what I'm really not a fan of is the puddle. Excuse me, is the puddle that is forming on that edge. So, mm, now one hairdryer in that whole house. I don't know. Maybe one of my roommates has a hairdryer. But I've never owned a hairdryer, like ever. We had a hairdryer growing up, and that was it. I've never done that. I barely straighten my hair. I definitely don't straighten it now that I've colored it. Not that you can see it right now, because that makes it be more fried. I don't want to fry my hair. Fold up a paper towel. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that here in a second. Because the rest of it is pretty much almost, it looks like the rest of it is almost there. It's just the puddle. There was an interesting tutorial about how to use cling wrap for for texture. So maybe after this, I might just grab some cling wrap and show you all that technique um, for the background. So this background is really just the background is the experiment of this painting, while the flower is the technical art the more detailed art that's happening. No experimenting with the center. Okay, I think we're good to go here. Okay. So as you can see, this is the darkest part, and that's where it's pooling up. So I'm going to take my paper towel, and I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to roll it kind of this way, I think. So don't accidentally get any into the flower. Wonder what happened here. It looks like it kind of went in a little bit, or didn't get enough color. That's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll touch it up later. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to erase. One of the reasons I really wanted this to dry is so that I could go and erase the remaining lines that are there, because I don't want these lines. Oh, some ink got onto my eraser. Poop. It wasn't fully dry. Ah! Oh well. C'est la vie, mon ami. C'est la vie. Now, with lilies, they don't have a very, at least white lilies, they don't have a very complex center. Like there's some flowers that have like the thousands beautifully designed spots on the center to lure bees in, but not so much with the white Easter lily. And it looks like from my reference photo that it kind of has a grayish tone, but I'm not really feeling that. I don't want to do gray on this. I think what I will do instead is I'll have yellow undertones. So that's what we'll do. Take this and we will put yellow in here. There we go. Okay. It also looks like it has the yellow. Shoot, I need to look this up. We're gonna hold up 1 second. I really need to see what the heck you call those things in the middle. The things that stick out. I know this word. Flower anatomy. Parts of the flower. Okay, it is called the stigma, it looks like. Or the stamen. Haha, it's the stamen. Thank you. It is the stamen. Okay, I feel better now. It looks like there are 6 stamen, and then there's 1 pistil. Spelled Pistil. So we're going to take the yellow, and we're going to lighten that up with a lot of water. Let's see, do I have, is this all the green out? Doing my 8 shape over here. Okay. Going to lighten this up, very, very light yellow, to hint at the lines I'm about to make. Okay. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's not what I want to do. Ugh. Watercoloring is its own beast. So maybe what I want to do instead, is I want to maybe paint what, I want to paint the petals first, I'm thinking. Some petals first. Nope, I lied. Nope, we're going to draw the center pieces first and then go around it. So they're going to come out of here. Oh, that is still very bright. Get some more water in here. Okay, and then we're going to draw 7 stems coming out. Tiny, tiny stems. Ugh, this is not a fine-tipped enough brush, I think. Two, 3, 4. Make that one kind of short for some perspective. And then we'll allude to 5, 6, and 7. There you go. Okay. And we're going to let those dry. Let this dry for a hot second. Okay. So, what I've done here is I drew 4 coming out of the base, right? But since this is not a very fine-tipped brush at all, in fact, because I overuse it, it's probably a little worn. I don't think I'm ever going to get that fine tip quite the same. I did 4 coming out of the center, and then over here I alluded to 2 more, which are all going to be the stamen, and then one final one. Oh, that was water I was not anticipating being still on the brush. All right, let's pick that up. Come here. There we go. Whew. um, uh, and then here we'll have the piston ready to go. So I didn't put all 7 at the base, but you don't technically need to do that. You just need to be able to somewhere along the line allude that it is there, and if you are good enough at it, people won't even think about it when they look at your picture. Okay. Okay, let's kind of push some of this around a little bit. Okay. I think from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the yellow directly, and I'm going to paint the tips of the stamen. And they're all going to be at different angles, and we're going to see how it goes. There we go. There's one. There's 2. This will be 3. Takeaway for this episode: don't use your brush as a pointer, right? You would think, you'd think that you could do that, but that's just a terrible, terrible idea. So okay, I've done 3. Do 4, and it's still wet, so that maybe there's not going to be as much definition as one should have. But I'm not too picky right now. I'll go back in later and fix it. 5, and the last one, the 6. There we go. And it looks like the stamen, no, yeah, it looks like the piston is more of a green. So take some green and put it in my palette, my bowl, and then I'm going to apply it with this brush instead. Oop, and mix it maybe with a little bit of yellow. I kind of like that color here. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I'll just make the actual stems of the stamen and the piston this color. I really quite like it. Let's see if we can. Is this still wet enough? Ooh. Yes, please. Okay. There you go. Oh, that came out better than I had hoped. Okay, now to let that dry. Well, that I let that dry, I'm going to go into what my strategy is for the next bit. As I was saying earlier, you kind of have to decide what your undertones are going to be when painting something white, so that when you allude to a shape, you don't, obviously you can't paint white on white and then expect there to be a lot for the audience to pick up on as to what it is you're painting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use yellow and maybe a little bit of the orange to hint at some warm undertones. So for instance, when I go to paint the outline of each petal, I will be using very faintly a mixture of yellow and that orange so that so you can see that there is an outline of the petal even though the petals are technically white, right? And then also when I can show you where all the different folds of those three center ones are, and um, and particularly the center of each of these petals, because those are the strongest points of each petal, and so they are very defined when you look at a lily, and I want to be able to show that. Okay. Dry. You're right. I need something to dry this with. I keep bumping the table. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Usually at this point in the process, I am putzing around on my phone, waiting for it to dry. But you guys are my phone. So I don't have my normal mode of distraction at hand. I don't know about you guys, but this was a long week, but it was a good week. I mean, I was able to do the art hour on Tuesday. It wasn't the best art hour. I should have prepared more. But I feel like I learned a lot in the process. Also, this week at work, there was quite a bit to do. And if you know anything about me, is that I like to put my best foot forward. When I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm there to work and perform my job to the best of my ability. And if I can't do that, then to at least look busy. Like I work in a warehouse and I don't even want to bring my phone out onto the production floor, unless it's to listen to music, and if I happen to remember my earbuds, so I can listen to music. But if I bring my phone out onto the floor, it just tempts me to like check Facebook, and then like I only am looking to distract myself for a few seconds. That's a terrible thing to do. Okay, so I think this is dry for the most part. So we should be able to move on to the next stage while without disturbing the work I have already done. Oh, my desktop fell asleep. Wake up. Okay. So, here we go. We are going to take some orange. We're going to put it in here. Okay. And we're going to find out what kind of color I'm going to go for. At the end of this might not be quite the white lily, because technically it's done. The lily is done. But I do want to be able to show the forms more quickly. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, this makes me want to try warm colored things. So I'm going to take some of this orange, put it in some of this diluted yellow, and then I'm going to add more water to it and test how much is on my brush. Okay, it's not too much. So that is something I can work with. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Okay. Whew. So I think what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and do the 3 center petals first. And we'll see what happens. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to start with the outline of it. Ooh. You know what? The outline on this side is white. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to outline it on this petal, which actually starts right there. Okay, so that's more than enough color. I'm cleaning up my brush to use the water. Let's get water there. All right. So I guess we're going to do the background instead. Do the exact opposite of what I planned to do. That's fine. It's fine. Okay. So I'm cleaning my brush. So it's just got water on it. And now I'm going to try and kind of pick up some of this pigment. Is there a clean part of this? There we go. Let's get a clean part. Okay. So now I'm going to go for the center of the petal and show some shadows. Okay. Clean that up a little bit. Ah! Too much. Too much. More water. More water. Oh, I see what the problem is. Some of the yellow got stuck in the water well of my brush. So we're going to clean that out. Okay. There we go. That should be better. Okay. This is one of those times where I wonder if I am good enough to do this. And the truth of the matter is that this is definitely a learning experience. So yes, I am good enough to do this, but like right now it doesn't feel like it because I am painting a lily for the first time and I'm painting lily with watercolor for the first time. Okay, so let's do the center. Now with this petal right here, the since it is it essentially points towards us, and then bends out. It has a bit of an interesting shape that is difficult to capture when putting onto a piece of paper. But I'm going to do my best. Yeah, 40 or 50th lily will be way, way, way easier. That is true. Okay. I don't know. Not quite feeling it. Obviously, I'm going to continue, but I'm not feeling it. Usually at this point, I kind of have an idea of how I can go about fixing something or where the light's coming from or all that. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't put too much forethought into planning for this piece like I have previous pieces. This was a busy week, like I said. But that's okay, because even if this doesn't quite turn out like I expected, it's still going to be a step up from the piece that I from a piece I didn't make, right? Do you have a picture to work from? The shading on this is so tricky. Yeah, I do have a picture I'm working from. Um, but again, like I'm just used to working with acrylics, right? So, so when it comes to working with acrylics, if you don't like the shape of something, just wait for the paint to dry, and 5 minutes later, you can go back and kind of fix the shape of things. Not so much with, not so much with watercolor. Also, I'm realizing now that this flower, is a little bit backlit. So, like the reference photo that I'm using. So, what I'm part of the problem is that I'm also trying to shade things that I'm not exactly sure how to shade just yet. Practice, right? There you go. So, like right here, I think I'm just gonna kind of shade where this back petal is, and it will kind of sort of show where that petal is in these front petals. And so what you can see here is, like I was saying earlier, but I'm going to reiterate again, is that these three center petals right here, they are larger than these back petals, and so they got more floppy. So this one is actually quite a floppy one, where the petal is actually big and it would continue all the way out here if it could maintain it. But since it's like, nah, it's fine, I'll just lay it out here, it is kind of flopped out behind the rest of the petal. A blue or faded purple shadow could help. It may be difficult with watercolor. No, you're probably right. That might make it easier. I was thinking yellow because um, I wanted something kind of bright and happy, but that might that might be better. I don't know. So I guess we can just say that yellow is my test run, right? Okay. Now this particular petal has a lot of shading on it and pretty evenly, so it should hopefully be easy to portray. This might be where, on this particular petal, where the wet on wet might have been more appropriate than on the other petals, because it is a pretty even color across the petal. And so if I were to put color on it, it could be more evenly distributed and have that continuous look. But I didn't do that, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be there. Okay, now for the final petal. Okay. Looks like this one starts all the way back here And then like that towards the tip. So you can kind of see that right here there should be a bend in the flower. Okay. Now for the final touches of this, we're going to figure out this side here. How do we want to define that side? Watercoloring is very humble. It's a very humbling experience. Okay. I'm going to do a second line here because it looks like there's a couple ridges. Okay, so now I can see like this petal looks relatively good, right, compared to the rest of them because it's the last one I did. Okay. So let's see if there's anything I can learn from what I did here on that to these ones. I think. Let's make this dark. Now I'm just going to go in and kind of do whatever I want, and I'm not going to look at the reference photo because now I can see what it is I'm going for, and this is what I have to work with now. That's it. So let's see. I think what I'm going to do is I need to separate out these petals, three petals here, because it kind of looks like they're all kind of mushed together. I'm not really a big fan of that. So let's see. See how dry these are. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade this here. And we know what? We're just going to use orange. I'm digging orange. Okay. Okay, I went back to the yellow-orange, make sure I had already made, but here we go. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to pick that up with the paper towel. There we go. Okay, for now for this one here, let's see. So this one is floopy. It's got the floopy sides over here. So we're going to round this out and show that it's floopy. Okay. Now, since this is the center here and it's kind of coming out in a swoop, if we want to show that there's a fold here, we have to take this swoop and kind of take that same shape and move it towards where the bend is in this flower. So I'm going to take some of that and I'm going to accentuate it with that line. I wonder if William Hooker illustrated a lily. Probably. Sounds like it. Okay. I love it when you talk technical. Thanks, Mom. I'm glad that swoop is the best technical term I got in my arsenal here. I'm kind of blending it with my finger here. Yeah, you know what? Thinking about this more, Jason, I think you were right. The faded purple or blue is better than the yellow because then it kind of has a cooler effect. By cooler, I mean like literally as a the temperature of this I guess figuratively the color temperature of this would be more realistic than the yellow that I'm using. Okay, so now we know that this was quite white before, so we're going to accentuate the fact that this is where the center is on this one. It's coming from this fold right here. We're going to just darken where that fold is. Hey, Shannon! Thanks for joining again. How's your afternoon going? Oh yeah, and didn't you just open up an art studio? Shannon? Yep, you got it. Easter Lily. In all its splendor. Cute! I love Pusheen. Pusheen the cat is adorable. Okay, I'm adding some. So I think I have this flower pretty much where I want it. I do want this to be slightly more vibrant, so I am just going to, and it's already wet on the paper, so I'm just going to take the color that I've been using, and I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to add a little bit more orange. And I'm going to just make that darker right there. Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit. Oh, you're writing by. I see. I see. Yep, Mom, the cat has a name. Pusheen. Okay. Oop, nope. Now we're just going to go in with the water. Oh, opposite colors in the shadows to the highlights tend to work well. It's good to remember that when, if ever in doubt. Thank you. Yes. I'm definitely going to remember that from now on. Now that I have hands-on experience with how this turns out. Let's see. I thought it was a cute fat cat. Well, Mom, Pusheen is a cute fat cat. Look him up online. Super cute. Okay. Great swooping so far. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. I like the swooping. Okay. Now. So I'm not sure exactly what to do with this one yet, but that's fine. I think I'm just going to leave that as it is for right now, and I'm going to focus on the rest of this. This part should feel darker, right? So let's see how we can make that happen without getting too dark. Ah, what is that? Black bit. Okay, here we go. My phone keeps telling me it's having technical issues. It may some point I might be cut out. It's not intentional. I apologize in advance if that happens. Okay. I think for now that's all she wrote. Okay. That's it for my Easter lily. For now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. Alright, we're at the final stages of this. It's not yet complete. It does not feel complete to me. It looks like there are a couple steps that I can take to make it look more finished and refined. I will always say that there's always one or two more things that a person can do, but I really do truly feel that this step, we are in the not only in the last stages, but it only is a couple of steps left. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to define this here, and then I'm going to try and see. We're going to experiment with this area And we're going to try the cling wrap method and see what happens. So I'm going to let this dry for just a quick second while I go get some cling wrap. Oh. And accidentally bump the table. All right. Thank you for waiting. Okay. So, what I have seen, I'm going to move things away. I'm going to rearrange myself a little bit. What I have seen other people do is they will paint an area and then they'll kind of put the cling wrap on and kind of scrunch it in areas, let it dry for like probably only a few seconds, but not till it's not so long that it is completely dry, and then you pull away the paper and it will leave this interesting texture behind. So I think for this one we are going to bring back our old friend Hooker's green, and we are going to try that. Because it does have, if it's going to have that extra blue kind of floating around, it will provide an interesting texture. So let's get some water on this bad boy. Ivy is watching. Yes! Hi, Ivy! She'd probably hate the idea of me knowing that she is watching me. But I don't care. She can live with it. Okay. So you guys may remember this is where I did the, what was it Jason called? The slow motion? The slow motion firework. So compared to the rest of the painting, it has a fairly even tone. So this should be a good spot to try that. So we're going to add some, let's see, do some of the X's with this green here. Maybe put a little more water on it. Looks like there's still some dry spots in there. Okay, and then put some cling wrap on. And kind of wait for it to dry a little bit so that when I lift up the cling wrap, it will, the ink will stay where it was moved in the cling wrap, when I put down the cling wrap. You want it to stay there. And my tea is done. It's done for. Mm. Has enough time passed? Maybe. Nope, it is not. Not enough time has passed. It's still pretty wet. But looking at it right now, just because the cling wrap is clear, I'm looking at the texture and I am excited. I'm really excited to see what this looks like without the cling wrap. This might be the new thing that I try. What is supposed to happen? So what's supposed to happen is, I don't know if you can see it, but some of the ink was displaced with where the cling wrap clinged to the wet paper. And so where it didn't cling is where the ink has kind of pooled to, I guess. It has been displaced to the air pockets that are left underneath. And since you can see that there's all these little lines from where the cling wrap kind of bunches up, that it should provide an interesting effect or an interesting texture underneath. But unfortunately, it looks like it takes a second to dry for it to, and by second I mean like probably a minute or two. As is always the case with watercolors, it takes a little while before you can move on to the next step. It's making me kind of grumpy. Again, benefit of acrylic paint is that this would instantly be done. It would have a different texture, or have a different effect on the texture because it'd be acrylic paint, but it would be done by now. I could remove the acrylic paint and it would be there. Well, water under plastic may take a while. Yeah, well, I'm just gonna let it sit for probably 1 more minute, and then enough dye will have been absorbed in it, and at least enough dye will have been absorbed into the paper for there to still have some effect be done. Okay. So now I've got to think about how I want to remove this. I've got to make sure there's enough room between me and the camera so I don't accidentally bump the camera. Okay. I think I'm going to pull from this side out, so I don't accidentally get any on my lily. Nope. It didn't dry at all. Oh, this is frustrating. It's not what I wanted. Alright, so guess one thing that people did not say in the tutorials that I watched was how long this took. So you think people would. But like, look, it's pretty much all blended back together now. It's not what I want. It's not what I want. So you know what we're going to do? Take this cling wrap, tell it goodbye, and we're going to use a paper towel instead. Because that's how that's going to work. Okay. Get a paper towel. And I'm just going to crumple it up. Alright. And let's see. Now we're going to put... I might be overworking this area. Oh, yep. That area is not going to happen anymore until it's completely dry. We're going to work on this area instead. Get some water on it. maybe if I use a paper towel instead of cling wrap, it will pick up the moisture, but still have that kind of texture effect. It will probably be softer than if I had left cling wrap there for it. Crinkled paper, paper. I don't think I have the kind of paper that would work right now. I only have paper towels. So I think that's just what's going to have to work for right now. Okay, so I'm kind of making some folds. There may be some dotted patterns on this, but we'll see. Oh, I want to use this one. Okay. Take this very textury part and gently lay it out on top of it. Nope. Okay. Does have an interesting effect on here though, like tie-dye. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to wait until I have the right supplies and time to figure this particular technique out. So we're just gonna go ahead and define the rest of this water lily. And we're going to use sap green. Nope. We're going to use water and then sap green. Okay. 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 I feel better about that. That does make it look more clean cut. I have to remember this is where the puddle was before. So I hope that even if it does puddle, it's not going to be that bad. I am using less water, so we'll see what happens. You know what? I think I'm going to add a little bit of an indentation here where the petals meet so we can see they are more separate. There we go. That's better. Okay. Next area. What time is it anyway? Oh, almost 4. Doing pretty good for time compared to the rest of my other attempts, which take like 2+ hours. Not that I mind, because obviously I was going to be painting, but it can be exhausting. Okay. Next section. Got to go. It's looking really good. All right, well, thank you so much for staying by, Jason. Your advice was really helpful. I think, and I appreciate you showing your support. You have a good rest of your Saturday. Okay, here we go. And that's that. Ta-da! Yep, getting a lot of use from these pens. Yeah, I'm pretty much going to be... I think I'm going to be using them for the next few weeks, and then I might try a different medium, but I'm pretty excited about how these have worked out. Okay, that's it for right now. Thank you for watching with me, and I hope you all have a great Saturday, and I hope you all have a great Easter Sunday. Bye!